I'm Alex.
And we're going to tell you a little bit about the Rhode Island colony. So I'm going to start with jobs. In Rhode Island, everyone had a responsibility. Men's jobs were to hunt animals such as deer, turkey, and beaver, and they would also go down to the waters to dig out oysters and clams from the tide pools. They also had the responsibility of growing tobacco. Women had to make fields of corn, beans, and squash, and the fields were fairly small. Women also had to take care of the children. As for children, also had very many jobs too. They had to do chores around the house, and they had to farm.
The history. The first settlers to arrive in Rhode Island were the Narragansett and the Pequot people. They had arrived in 1600. In 1642, the Rhode Island settlers added 2 new towns to the colony. These 2 towns were named Newport and Warwick. In 1647, a General Assembly had formed a Providence Plantation.
So I'm going to go on to children. So children in Rhode Island are very busy with chores, but when they have free time, they would tell stories, riddles, and tongue twisters. Children would also like to play with marbles, tops, and hoops, and many children like to sing songs and play with a playmate. A playmate was like a friend, and during the winter they would also ice skate on the frozen water.
And the climate in our colony, some crops that we grew were corn, beans, peas, turnips, parsnips, carrots, and pumpkins. There are also many natural resources in the area. These include deer, turkey, and beaver. The land is mostly moist because of living near the ocean. Rhode Island is at the edge of the East Coast.
I'm going to go on to government and religion. So in our colony, many religions were practiced. Some of these religions included Roman, Christian, and many more. In the government, a famous person that came to Rhode Island was Nathaniel Greene. Nathaniel Greene led troops to many battles, and George Washington was really happy that Nathaniel was there to help.
Okay, so on clothing, we made clothing out of animal skins and fur. Women also sewed their own clothing with cloth. Women used a spinning wheel to thread sheep wool. Farmers grew a special plant called flax, which has silky fibers in it to make silk. Flax would be spun on like a wool. Flax would be spun just like wool. Children also wore clothes. Their clothes went all the way down to their feet. Their clothes went all the way down to their feet. Boys wore some suits, and girls usually wore dresses.
So for food, in Rhode Island, we commonly eat squash and beans because they grow really well, and we also eat the seafood, as I mentioned before. The seafood includes oysters and clams, and sometimes other fish. Oysters and clams were not all they ate, though. Men hunted deer and turkey and beaver with bows and arrows. I'm going to go into housing. So the houses were called Ender houses, and Ender houses only had one wall at the end of the house that was made of stone, and at the bottom of the stone walls was a big fireplace. Ender houses had chimneys on top of the roof, and they also used rushes to make thatched roofs. So that's all for our note cards, and we're going to show you our poster. things we put on our poster. And we have our map up here. And this is where Rhode Island is at the very edge, and it is the smallest colony.
The East Coast. So it's very moist, like I said.
Because it's where, and then they can get clams and oysters from down here in the ocean. So we have jobs, children's school, and history. And down here I put a couple of fun facts. And one of them was one interesting food that the colonists ate of Rhode Island was Johnny cake. And Johnny cake, it said that a lot of the colonies ate Johnny cake, and it was a famous dessert for special occasions. And the colonial children of Rhode Island called their friends playmates, as I said before, and the children. And some religions Rhode Island practiced were Roman, and they also practiced Catholic and Christian. So this is our poster, and I'm just going to show you our flag. So this is our flag, and as you can see, it has 13 stars
that represent 13 colonies.
And then the golden anchor in the middle represents hope. And so this was established in 1654, I think. And so yeah. And so now I'm going to show you. And many things were happening over here in the 1600s. So in 1600, that is when the Narragansett and the Pequot people had arrived into Rhode Island. And in 1639, a town called Newport is settled on the southern tip of Rhode Island.
And in 1636, Roger Williams was the first settler to come in Rhode Island.
So he was a little bit after the Narragansett and the Pequot people. So in 1689 there was a war with the French and the Indians, but it stopped, and it only went for a little while. So it began and last, and then in 1696, the first shipload of slaves from Africa were brought to Rhode Island. So slaves would work with farms, and they got the slaves from Africa. So this is our Rhode Island timeline. Stuart R. Collin. That's all we have for you today, and we hope you enjoy.
Bye.